right now at 6, the century-old building on the brink of collapse, with the city now at odds with the railroad.
Passing trains could trigger the collapse of the building.
Plus, a dozen vehicles destroyed in what fire officials say could be arson at a dealership that says it's been targeted before.
We've had a couple of our new cars get drilled, a couple of our service cars get drilled.
And later, a look at the arena fight in another West Coast city and what it says about the future of MODA.
Either sign or get out. They chose to get out.
But first to breaking news in downtown Portland, where police say a cyclist has been shot and injured with streets closed off and the search for a shooter ongoing. Let's go right to Harley Coldiron live near the Keller in Portland State with the very latest. Harley?
Hey, good evening, David. You can see the crime tape behind me has been cleared, but this investigation is just getting underway. Police Chief Bob Day telling us that around 3:30, e-biker was shot right near that pay to park sign. They were urgently rushed to the hospital, but they are expected to live. Another van was on the scene, but has since been towed away. Police Chief Bob Day said he was really disturbed to see this happen in broad daylight on such a busy street.
And it's not lost on me that the concern that community would have about a shooting downtown, middle of the day, certainly is a concern for us.
Now, we arrived shortly after the shooting broke out, and there were two people hanging out on this sidewalk that were here for about an hour. Police were talking to them for a while, so they may be witnesses. They are asking anyone who may have saw or know anything to contact their non-emergency number. Big thing we want to point out, we're right next to the Keller Auditorium where Harry Potter is playing tonight around 7:30. There'll literally be hundreds of people here in just a few hours, David.
All right, as far as we know, too, the search for the suspect still ongoing. That's Harley Coldiron downtown. Thanks, Harley. Taking to more breaking news now, this time in Clark County, where a small plane crashed this afternoon at a private airport near Ridgefield. We are told 2 people were hurt when the Cessna 180, that's a single-engine prop, went down near Daybreak Airport. Firefighters say they had to pull the victims from the wreckage. Both of them were taken to the hospital. The FAA has shut down all traffic in and out of the small airstrip, with the NTSB now investigating. To continuing coverage of the century-old Centennial Mills building in the Pearl District, now in danger of collapse, with the city ordering demolition now to get underway by Friday, though it appears Union Pacific does not want to wait for that, with freight trains now rolling through on the tracks directly across Nadeau Parkway. Devin Haskins is live in Northwest Portland. Devin, I cannot imagine the city or the neighbors are really thrilled about that.
Yeah, city has definitely warned the Union Pacific against doing this, but they admit there's not much they can do to stop this from happening. Around noon today, that freight train rolled into place here slowly right in front of the building. Union Pacific says that it is acting as a barrier between the tracks and the building itself, but we have not seen any trains come through beyond just this one, with the tape still being up. But Union Pacific does plan on rolling things through because they say they just can't wait any longer. A Union Pacific train slowly pushes into the Pearl District. Just feet away from a building the city doesn't trust to stand on its own.
Passing trains could trigger the collapse of the building, resulting in death or serious injury to those on the train and damage to the surrounding property.
The 4-alarm fire destroying a 116-year-old building and shutting down Nadeau Parkway and Fields Park while the building remains unstable. For more than a week, rail traffic has been shut down. Union Pacific telling KGW News in a statement it can't wait any longer, saying, quote, "We must consider the disruption the closure of this critical rail corridor has on regional industries, small businesses, ports, and consumer goods." The railroad company says it has agreed to take steps while moving trains through. That includes slowing down, using train cars as a barrier, and having staff on site, among other things. City Administrator Raymond Lee says the mayor is prepared to sign an emergency declaration, which he says signals the seriousness of the issue at hand.
This allows greater flexibility in assigning city staff to the incident and allows emergency procurement for services such as debris removal.
The cause of the fire remains a mystery, but investigators have ruled out several possibilities, saying it's most likely human caused.
So right now we know that there's not inherent systems in the building that would have malfunctioned to cause this particular fire, so those particular sources of ignition have been ruled out at this point. Now we're just trying to identify what other potential ignition sources might have been present.
A week later, and the area remains shut down. Debris from the fire dots the streets and nearby tracks and patio furniture. City Councilor Eric Zimmerman taking a jab at the city while also reassuring neighbors about cleanup efforts.
Portland takes a long time to do things. It will not take a long time to make this a safer place. It will not take a long time to clean up the Pearl District and the rest of the neighborhoods.
The city says demolition will start no later than this Friday. It's unclear, though, how long that demolition will take. David?
All right, still some questions. Devin Haskins in Northwest tonight. Thanks, Devin. To your headlines now. A prolific thief tied to dozens of trailer thefts throughout the Portland Metro pleaded guilty today to multiple charges. Nicholas Edwards admitted to aggravated theft, unlawful use of a vehicle, and felony elude, among other charges. Investigators say he would steal trailers and then try to sell them online. Edwards was arrested in January after police say he led them on a chase while pulling a stolen trailer. He is set to be sentenced on Thursday. To Hayden Island, where a hazmat crew worked for hours this morning to stop a sulfuric acid leak. Portland Fire says it was called around 5:30 after a truck driver noticed the leak. Officials say about 100 gallons spilled onto the road that entered the storm drains, prompting them to call in the hazmat team.
So for them to have to put on their gear and get everything set up and pull it out, this is second nature to them. We train on our time to respond to these incidents, and so we can do so efficiently, effectively upon arrival and not look at the Rubik's Cube for the first time, right?
Crews contained it with sand and other absorbent material. Fire officials say no one was hurt and they do not expect any health risks to the community. And a section of the Markham Trail is closed most of the week as Portland's Water Bureau crews repair a leaking water main. This is near Council Crest Park. Closure runs from Summit Trail to the connector trail near the top of Council Crest. Will run from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily for about a week, so you can still get in those evening walks. Hikers can also use the Summit Trail to get around the closure. Detour signs are posted around that work area. Joe?
David, we are looking at more smoke and haze throughout the east of the mountains, and that's not going to be changing over the next couple of days. Here's a live look from our Oregon Veterans Home Camera in the Dalles. 87 degrees. You can see that smoke and haze from the Grasshopper fire. Gusts up to close to 30 miles an hour, and that's going to be about as windy as it's going to get tonight and a little bit into tomorrow. Even parts of the northern part of the valley are starting to see the winds pick up, also along the central and southern part of the Oregon coast. But the fire danger is going to remain high the more east you go once again. You can kind of see, we'll see the winds die down a little bit going into the overnight hours, and they pick up again going into tomorrow. We do have that air quality alert that's now in effect throughout parts of the central and eastern side of the state until noon tomorrow. More east you go near Burns and Baker City, that's going to be up in that area as well. Now the humidity levels are just not that bad throughout the west side of the state, but again, east side of the Cascades, we're looking down to 10 to 15%. Very dry over there, and that's not going to be changing anytime soon. I do have a little bit of rain in the forecast, and when I say little, not very much in terms of measurable amounts. I'll talk more about that in a few minutes.
Well, we definitely could use the rain. Thanks, Joe. Developing this evening, authorities are investigating a fire at a Vancouver car dealership, one that scorched at least a dozen cars and could, they say, potentially be arson. Libby Dowsett's live along Northeast 66th with those details. Libby?
Well, David, this happened just after 4 a.m. The good news is no one was injured. Let me step out of the way so you can see that the burned vehicles are still here. And we are smelling them in the wind this afternoon. Located in this far corner of the parking lot near the trees and the fence line, there's still no official cause of this fire or named suspects, but some employees believe they know what may have happened.
I was shocked. We've never had a car catch fire yet.
Employees at Allen Webb Chevrolet arrived to find utter destruction early Monday morning. They say some of the 12 vehicles burned are melted beyond recognition.
Some of them, they don't even know what car it is. It's just burned so bad, they're trying to figure it out still.
The Vancouver fire marshal telling us fires like this burn hot and fast.
Once a vehicle fire gets fully engulfed, it's very, very high temperature fire, and so it consumes a lot of the mass.
Heidi Scarpelli says there are several different theories, but this incident is being investigated as a possible arson.
It is very highly unusual that you get multiple vehicles that catch on fire.
But a sales consultant and spokesperson for Allen Webb says the fire could have been unintentional.
Over like the last year, people coming and drilling our diesel gas tank. So this one's kind of new because now it's just regular gas cars.
Caleb Lazaro says they believe the fire is somehow tied to people crawling under vehicles to get to the gas.
It's normally been like diesel trucks, right? We've had a couple of our new cars get drilled, a couple of our service cars get drilled, a couple of our employees' cars actually got drilled before.
These large SUVs, trucks, and cars turned in for resale, but now a complete loss. The fire marshal's office going through videotape and other evidence, urging the public to come forward with any information.
Luckily, none of us were here when it happened, but I mean, it's devastating.
And Vancouver's arson unit is investigating this incident. That spokesperson for the company says there's no exact total loss for them right now, but he says with all the SUVs here behind me and the trucks, it could be a lot. Now back to you, David.
And just glad it didn't spread beyond the parking lot, considering the hot, dry conditions. Thanks, Libby.